my weekend report. Starting on Thursday night, I wasn't feeling well. I usually know the night before when I'm going to have anxiety attacks and stuff because I just start feeling really terrible. If you've ever been in a situation, which I hope you haven't, but a lot of you people out there probably have been, in a situation where your life was in danger and you were being threatened and you feel like you're either going to be killed or laying there beat up and they hope you'll die. Well, I've been in situations like that, so I know what the feeling feels like. I am not in that situation, but I still had that feeling on Thursday and Friday. So it's not a pleasant thing, not at all. So I was having anxiety, and Friday I didn't eat anything. And for a fat girl not to eat anything, you know something's wrong. Saturday I was still feeling sick, but I did have some chicken soup. I lay in bed all day. I did not go to the Italian speaking meetup. I did not go to a picnic that I was invited to. I stayed home and I stayed in bed. I had a headache, and I turned the TV on to listen to what the weather was going to do, because I knew it was going to rain and get more humid again, but I didn't know when. So I turned the TV on to listen, and the first thing that comes up is something that happened Saturday morning. News on TV that it's almost it's not as bad as it could have been. I mean, the worst case scenario is war is on your doorstep, but there's problems in Charlottesville, Virginia. The United States had a civil war back in 1861 through 1865. Had the southern states versus the northern states. The northern states were becoming more industrialized, and the southern states were giant farms, plantations, mostly growing cotton and some growing tobacco. And they were owned by wealthy white businessmen who had black slaves and not just black, but they had slaves. People that worked for them that weren't paid really at all. Some of them treated their slaves better than others, but still, these fat cats were getting rich off of people that were not treated well at all. And even after all this time, there are people that go yee-hoo for the South, and people that say, hey, that's not cool. There are several Confederate statues around in various cities. We had one in St. Louis, and people started complaining about because it reminded them of slavery and all that. So what they did was they took it down and put it in a Civil War museum or something. So it's not in the park for everyone to see, but if you want to go see it, you can. In Charlottesville, Virginia, they had Robert E. Lee on a horse, on a column. Robert E. Lee was the general for the South. Ulysses S. Grant was the general for the North. But down in Virginia, they had this statue on a horse, and they've been talking about taking it down. Well, there were a whole bunch of white guys, white nationalists and racists and Ku Klux Klan people, or the alt-right is what they call themselves, standing around protecting the statue. They had shields and baton, and when it got darker they all had these tiki torches. They had torches and sticks, and they were throwing bottles of broken glass pieces. And protesters, there were peaceful protesters of saying, we're living in the 2000s, folks, give it up. Can't we get along? This is a terrible thing. We want it removed or whatever. I don't know. It's like, we can't tolerate that. We won't tolerate racism here. Sorry. But then those guys that have been down there, the yahoos down there, want it to stay that way. So there were people with 3 different types of flags. Let's see if I drew them sort of. This flag, which I think is a white nationalist flag or white power flag. I'm not sure. I think it is. Then there's this one known as the Dixie flag, the stars and bars. The Confederate flag, which is what the South had flying during the Civil War and all that, and a lot of people still have it on their cars or in front of their house or whatever. Then they had the Nazi flag. So there's all these people down there with that kind of hateful mentality going on. And one kid who happened to come in from Ohio, a 20-year-old kid, decided he was going to mow down some of these anti-protest, the people that were saying, hey, you know, we don't want bigotry and KKK, Ku Klux Klan, we don't need the racists, you know, can't we get along? This kid drove down the street and mowed down a couple dozen of them, you know, 19 were in the hospital, and one died. She was 32 years old, and when I heard that, my heart started to bleed, and I started to cry, because my younger son is 32. And if something like that happened to him, I'd be heartbroken. And she might have shown up just to show her support. She may not have done anything to cause anybody any harm. So I was real upset about that. And then tonight, this is Monday, tonight I saw on the feed that in Durham, North Carolina, a statue was toppled over. He was a musket loader. It was another one of those Confederate statues, but these people that don't want to tolerate racism and bigotry, they should not have done this. I don't agree with the bigotry and racism either, but they put a rope around the statue and pulled it over, like, you know, and then destroyed it. So there's going to be a lot of problems happening. I just hope they don't happen around here. I don't need any more shit. So that's been going on. And it wasn't until today that President Trump got on television and was talking about, was 48 hours after that incident till he got on TV to say something about it. Only because somebody legally probably said, you better get out there and say something, man. And I'm sure they wrote his speech, because I don't even know if he knows the word repugnant, which he used many times in his speech, repugnant. Which reminded me of a cartoon that the kids and I used to watch called Pinky and the Brain. There are two mice, one's skinny and tall, one's a little short with a huge head. He's the brain, and Pinky's kind of dumb. Pinky and the Brain, they're Pinky and the Brain, one's a genius, the other insane. They're laboratory mice. They're Pinky and the Brain, brain, narf. And the Brain sounded like, oh crap, what's his name? Orson Welles' voice. And Pinky would say, what are we going to do tonight, Brain? And Brain would say, the same thing we try to do every night, Pinky. Take over the world. Oh, there was one show where Brain was telling Pinky it was repugnant, and he kept repeating repugnant. So that this speech reminded me so much of that. Sunday. I felt better physically, but I was so emotionally sickened by everything going on, and I couldn't take it. I had to call somebody. I called my cousin Sandy in Philadelphia, and we talked for almost 3 hours. She's been having a lot of depression too. She's a couple years younger than me. Maybe one or two. We both have similar things going on in our lives, and having a hard time. So we talked and talked. I know I felt better after it. I hope she did. I tried, me, when I get nervous, or I try to throw some humor in there, so I did make her laugh a little bit. So, it's more humid today. My brother Rick and I took a walk around the block. They're tearing up streets around here and doing concrete work, which I have another video for today. And so far, so good with the SD card. I got it to accept some photos. Now I have to put the Cahokia Mounds, Indian burial mounds, tape together for you. I call it tape. I'm old. What can you say? Upward and onward.